40% of Toys for Bob's workforce was just laid off. Yeah, nope, that's not clickbait. This is what happened. So let's talk about it. What's up, guys? Canadian Guy here, and I am back with a video that is unscripted. Now, I have a little panel of notes here where I can look down and refer to so I don't, start rambling and go off track. But I don't typically do this. You know me, I typically have music and I have B-roll and everything is scripted and everything is nice. But today we're going off script, we're going unscripted, and we're just going to be breaking down everything that's happened over the past week. I know I'm a few days late with this, but I really just wanted to sit down and get different people's perspectives, think about it, read about it, and really come to as close to an objective video as possible while also giving my thoughts and opinions. So if you're unaware, to give you the broad base of the news, Xbox recently laid off 1,900 employees across Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, and Xbox Game Studios themselves. Now, I will say that while this was widespread, the focus was on Blizzard. It was a massive hit on Blizzard. Multiple teams pulled off, multiple teams laid off. I know it hit Overwatch 2 hard. I know it hit Diablo 4 hard. And most importantly, and probably the biggest aspect, is that it completely canned a project, as Blizzard had announced a survival project that was been in development for many years. Well, it's just been announced that that whole project was canned. And this is something that's really unfortunate, because now people will never get to see that project, and all the work that all these employees put into that project will no longer be seen. Now, unfortunately, there has been a recent increase and influx of layoffs within the game industry and kind of in the world in general, as the economy is going a direction that not a lot of people like. But the biggest names out there in terms of layoffs was Epic Games, Riot Games, and many other smaller studios that we haven't even heard about. Now, I've spoken to people that have had varying jobs at various places, whether it's from within Toys for Bob, out of Toys for Bob, around Toys for Bob, and I've spoken to quite a number of sources, and all of them can basically confirm, which I broke on Twitter, that about 35 people were laid off from Toys for Bob. Now, some of you might think that that's not a lot, especially in comparison to the fact that there was 1,900 employees laid off, so 35 people isn't that bad. But to give you some context, there was about 85 people employed directly under Toys for Bob before this layoff. So that's about 40% of the entire studio. The one thing I want to clarify is that this is not third parties or third-party contractors. So you have people who are directly employed by Toys for Bob, and then you have people who are outside Toys for Bob that are contracted in, whether it be entire studios or other artists. These are not employees of Toys for Bob. These are people that are contracted for short term for certain projects. As we know, Airborne Studios is a company that Toys for Bob has worked with numerous projects. It doesn't mean anybody at Airborne was laid off. Specifically, these were employees that were working beneath Toys for Bob and were considered as Toys for Bob employees. Now, the jobs that were lost weren't like 2021's layoffs. They were all over the place. So I started to do my digging research, looking across social media, finding different people that were announcing that they were laid off, or through personal messaging, and I found 16 of the 35 people that were laid off. And it was people from various roles, from UI designers, game designers, environment artists, gameplay animators, UI engineers, everything under the sun, they were laid off. And it was definitely something that was a shock when I found that out. Now, first, I want to talk directly to the employees that were laid off. The first thing is I want to say is I'm sorry. I know exactly what you're going through. To quickly recount my own struggle, the whole point of the start of this channel was actually because I was laid off. I used to work at an animation studio. I used to be an animation editor, and I used to do work for the CBC and numerous other big companies. And 2 times from the same company, I got laid off. And the second time was days before my first son was due to be born. And so I know exactly the the struggles that some of you are going through. And it's not fun. It's not fun. And I sympathize with every single one of you about the issues that you're going through. And I am very, very sorry that you're going through these problems. Again, don't stop fighting. Don't give up your dream. Don't think that this is the end, because I thought it was the end for me, and it was only the beginning of something even bigger and even greater. Now, I want to encourage the viewers who are watching this video or who subscribe to this channel to please go to social media if you have it, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and try to find some of these Toys for Bob employees and retweet their work, retweet them looking for work to try and help them land a job, land on their feet, and get to another place as quick as possible, because some people right now are in desperate need for work, and I am hoping that some of you are able to go and give them a hand. Now, I kind of want to talk about the employees at Toys for Bob, because they have been severely affected as well. So the good news, and this is very soft good news, so I'm trying to find the positivity in something, is that this is not like the 2021 layoffs. What do I mean by that? Well, in 2021, Toys for Bob basically had to gut their entire art department because they were supporting other projects at the time and weren't in need of it. And because of that, Toys for Bob was delegated to basically being a support studio. However, with this layoff, while it seems like significantly bigger, all the jobs are pretty widespread. So it wasn't just one specific department, which means that development for projects can actually still continue. Additionally, according to, sadly, now a previous Toys for Bob employee, the team size for Crash Team Rumble was actually relatively small. So yeah, Crash Team Rumble can continue to be supported. But the obvious and glaring bad news is that 40% of your entire workforce directly employed by you was just laid off, and it left only about 50 people. So that's already not a big workforce. So that means delayed projects and timelines are now inevitable, and that's going to cause a lot of stress for all the employees who are working there, especially if key members of a team were removed from certain projects. So now they have to scramble and figure out what they're going to do. And that is something that I do not envy when it comes to a team position. So my hope, at least in terms of that, is some alleviation be given by Xbox in the fact that maybe they could have another support team come on and try to help and try to make it better for them. That's really all the silver lining there is to that. So some of you might be sitting here and saying, why did this happen? Why is this going on? And if you want the short answer, it's money. Of course. What else would it be? Money. Of course, right? But if we want to go a little bit more in depth, there's a couple of things and a couple of theories are being thrown around. And of course, the first thing is when an acquisition happens, the unfortunate thing when it comes to acquisitions is that there's these things called redundancy layoffs. And what that kind of means is that there are teams of people both on Xbox and Activision side that come together and they are not needed. Two teams are not needed. So let's say you have 100 people in the HR department over at Xbox, and there's 100 people over in the Activision HR department. That's a total of 200 HR employees. But then you find out that you only need 110 people to operate both companies. So now you have to lay off 90 people from the HR departments on either side. That is a redundancy layoff. It's not that you're fired because you didn't do good enough. It's because that your role has been already established and somebody else was higher than you in terms of efficiency or in terms of seniority or whatever a company might look at to see that values certain employees over others when it comes to redundancy layoffs. Now, this was more than just redundancy layoffs though, because of the fact that if you look at the different jobs that were laid off, they were all spread and all over the place. And it's not like an Xbox team is moving in with the Toys for Bob team. So it wasn't just redundancy layoffs, unfortunately. So what's going on with that? Well, I'm not going to pretend that I know 100% the logistics of everything that's happening. I am not somebody who knows all the laws and everything when it comes to mergers. I've done some reading and I've done some basic online learning when it comes to this stuff, but I'm not practiced in it. I haven't gone to school for it. I'm not educated in it, but I have an understanding of how it works. But I'm not going to pretend like I know everything and understand how all the logistics of it work out. One of the things that may have happened is that Activision actually was in dire straits when it came to their whole entire business collapsing. Activision Blizzard was being handled very poorly under Bobby Kotick's watch. It's possible that this was the only way that when Xbox came in and saw all the paperwork, all the money, and saw all the sheets, realized that this was not going to go well and it was not sustainable, and that this was the only way to be able to bring Activision Blizzard to a sustainable rate. And unfortunately, this is how it ended. It's also possible that Xbox might be turning and relying specifically on third-party workforces at a much cheaper rate than what they were paying the previous employees. So it's possible they laid all these people off so that they could hire cheaper labor, which is also pretty terrible. Or it's possible that it's a combination of the two, or neither. Again, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. Now, I want to clarify my stance on something because I've been seeing some nasty remarks on social media when it comes to me and this acquisition. So I want to clarify my stance. It is no secret that I am and was for this acquisition. I mean, you can go and take a look at my previous videos and hear my stances on them. And I was positively for the acquisition. And part of the many reasons is that it seemed like under Bobby Kotick, it seemed like Activision Blizzard was just falling apart. And it seemed like Xbox was the life raft to be able to come in and kind of save everybody. At least at the time, that's what I personally thought. I also spoke with people within the industry, and people that were definitely had a stronger opinion about this than I, and a more, I would say, heavier weighted opinion over mine and over what people see on social media. And there were a significant amount of positivity towards the idea of Xbox owning Activision. And the idea behind that was that Xbox was going to give autonomy to a large portion, or if not everybody, over at Activision Blizzard to work on what they wanted to work on. There were many people, both behind the camera, in front of the camera, journalist sites, in my DMs, that were thrilled with the idea and the opportunity to have Xbox as the new home for Activision Blizzard. Additionally, from what was significantly rumored, that Xbox seemed like the better choice out of the other two companies that were interested, as EA and Tencent were both looking to possibly jump in to grab this acquisition. So when we heard that it was Xbox that was the party leading the charge on acquiring Activision, it was a lot better than the other two options. Now, what is my stance as of now? I'll be honest with you, I'm unsure. Because again, I don't know the logistics behind this. Was this something that had to happen in order for Activision to stay afloat? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I do know. I genuinely don't know. Was I angry? Absolutely, I was angry. I was livid when I heard about these layoffs across the board, not just at Toys for Bob, but everywhere. But my question is, where do I direct my anger to? Now, again, I'm going to say this once. I was for the acquisition. What I was not for were the layoffs. I was not for the layoffs. I did not want people to lose their livelihoods. I did not want people to lose their jobs. I wanted more creative freedom. I wanted the developers and the creatives behind them to be able to develop exactly what they wanted and not be pushed or shoved or coerced into developing things that they had no interest in. And let me tell you something, anybody, and I do mean anybody, I don't care what social media, whether it's Twitter, Reddit, Discord, really, frankly, I don't care where, if they are sitting down and suggesting that I was for the layoffs, that I was for people losing their livelihoods, that I was for this gutting, is being said in complete and total bad faith. And it is despicable to think that people would even suggest or even think that I wanted people to be laid off. In fact, there is a tweet that was sent out from a previous Toys for Bob developer that got affected by the layoffs that explained that they didn't even see this coming and to not even attack people that were for the acquisition. So there you go. From somebody who was actually affected by these layoffs are stating to not attack people that were for the acquisition. So if anybody wants to sit there and say something in bad faith about me, about what I thought and what I desired, no, we're not playing that game. Now, I know that there's going to be people in the comment section below saying, oh, what about Spyro 4? Oh, Crash Bandicoot 5? Is Crash Team Rumble's going to be a thing? Blah, blah, blah. Look, I understand that for some people, that's your only concern. But I'll be honest, this video is specifically dedicated to the humans behind those games and making sure that they are taken care of. So I will still be talking about that, though, in a future video and breaking that down and giving explanations and possibilities. But at the end of the day, this video right here specifically is for the people. As a final note, I just want to repeat something that I said before, and that I am sorry to everybody who's been laid off. I am sorry to everyone who's had their jobs even affected, even if this was your side gig for development, or if this was your full-time job and even dream. I am very, very sorry to all those who are affected. I am, again, encouraging anybody who is on social media to seek out these people or seek out recruiters who are currently trying to find work from these people. Please, I ask that if it is possible, go to social media, try to help these people out, try to get them to land on their feet, and try to help them out. Again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back later with other live streams and videos. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.